Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You were visible. No, it doesn't show to me.
I have logged in two devices. One is from mobile and one is from laptop. Laptop for screen
Okay.
sharing. And
Yeah, now we are able to see you, ma'am. This is great.
Ma'am, shall we start? Monica, ma'am?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Daniel, sir.
Hello. Good morning, Kalevani. Yeah, good
Sir,
morning.
good morning, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Meeting is started.
Yes, sir.
Monica is there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She joined.
Okay. Good morning, Monica. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, Monica. Hello. Good morning to everybody.
Monica, ma'am.
Good morning to everybody.
Very good morning, sir.
How are you all?
Very good morning, sir.
We are fine, sir.
Yeah, very good.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good. Not yet started. Monica is starting the lectures already.
Yeah, no, no, sir. I think she's sharing the PPT. Please wait.
Ma'am, is it
Okay.
visible?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Okay.
visible, visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we start, ma'am?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, good morning to one and all present here. I welcome you all for our day 3 session on technical skill training program. I invite Ms.Monika Reddy, lecturer and course coordinator, Department of Radiodiagnosis, Yenepoya deemed to be university, to deliver a lecture on ultrasound instrumentation. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Yeah.
First of all, I would like to say thanks for Commander Daniel sir, Kalaigani ma'am, and Suresh sir personally. And then I thank the team ISR.
It's not clearing.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please proceed, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So today we'll discuss about the core contents like design of ultrasound, construction of ultrasound, working principle, and how the operating procedures can be done, and the few applications of ultrasound. So just we'll go through an overview of ultrasound, just like for history and all. Father of medical ultrasound is John J. Weil. He is an American scientist who has used the ultrasound in the medical field. And after this, few more pioneers are there. Ma'am, I'm not able to share the screen. Like,
Excuse me.
hello.
Monica, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, ma'am.
Ma'am, your voice is very low, ma'am. Please check it.
Okay.
Breaking also. Our voice is breaking also.
Okay. Am I audible clearly now?
Ma'am, it's clear,
Yeah.
but it's very low, ma'am. I think maybe increase your
Okay, one second.
Sometimes
system
it's
level.
too much breaking. That's why it's not.
Okay. So is it clear now? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now continue.
I'm not able to change the slide.
Not able to change. Ma'am, once again you share it, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, now it is changed. So then few more pioneers are in developing the ultrasound. Few more pioneers are Pierre and Jacques Curie, who are otherwise known as Curie brothers, who discovered the effect of piezoelectric, which is the most important, which has changed the ultrasound drastically because of this invent. So then next comes Paul Langevin, who has tried to invent the hydrophone while Titanic sinking in the year 1912, which made the first step to detect the ultrasound. It is not for medical purpose, but it is the first basic to develop ultrasound. So next comes Carl Dusek, who has used, he is the first physician who has used ultrasound for medical diagnosis. So first we will know the basic, what is sound? So sound, which is a vibration which propagates as an audible wave of pressure through transmission medium. It requires medium. Please note this, it requires medium, such as gas, liquid or solid, whatever the medium it is, but it requires some medium to transmit. And usually the diagnostic ultrasound frequencies ranges from 1 to 30 megahertz, but below the usual audible range of sound is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, which is an audible sound. That is why we'll call it as sound. And if it is below the 20 hertz, then it is called infrasound, which cannot be heard by human ears. And even if it exceeds the limit of 20,000 hertz also, we will not be able to hear. And this ultrasound comes under it will exceed the audible range. It will be over the 20,000 hertz to 30 megahertz.
Madam, PPT not visible.
PPT is not visible.
Yeah.
Now? Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Ma'am, PPT clear, but voice is not hearing properly.
I'm clear from my side. I can hear everything, but I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, you continue, ma'am, please.
Okay. Then comes the production of ultrasound. How the ultrasound will be produced? By using this transducer probe produces the ultrasound pulses with a vibrating crystal, which is called piezoelectric crystal. And these elements convert electrical energy into the mechanical ultrasound wave. They'll use the electrical energy and crystal will vibrate. Then it will produce the mechanical ultrasound. And the same vice versa will happen from the body to reach the crystal and then to the electrical pulses and as electrical signal on the monitor. So we'll know about the characteristics of ultrasound. What are the important characteristics of ultrasound? Are amplitude, wavelength, frequency, velocity of sound, and intensity. These are the basic characteristics of ultrasound, on which the intensity of ultrasound is dependent. How the echo pulses are depended on these characteristics. So first of all, amplitude. Amplitude is the height of the wave, height of the signal. So how much amplitude will be directly proportional to the signal. How much ever the better the amplitude, better the signal will be. And the wavelength. Wavelength is the distance between the two waves. And frequency. Wavelength will be dependent on the medium. And frequency. Frequency is the number of oscillations per second is known as frequency, and it is denoted by hertz, where we are denoting that how much megahertz crystal it is, how much frequency it can be provided. Transducer frequencies will be determined by this frequency characteristic. The velocity of sound. Velocity of sound is the speed of the sound, the transmission of the sound. It is dependable on the nature of the tissue material, tissue composition, and the basic components of important characteristics of transmission is compressibility and density of the medium. So compressibility of the medium, how much the tissue can be compressible. So denser the tissue. Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One second. One second, ma'am. So the velocity, speed of the sound is dependable on the compressibility and density of the material, makeup of the tissue. So how much is the compressible? The lesser the compressible, greater will be the penetrability. And if the denser the tissue, the greater will be the penetrability. And the intensity, amplitude and intensity are interrelated. So higher the amplitude, greater the intensity of the echo signal. Greater the intensity of the echo signal, better the image, brighter the image. So to produce the brighter and better images, we need higher amplitude signals, which will be so intense. So these are the few velocity of sound in different materials. So as you see, air has the least velocity among all, and metal has the highest velocity. So metal will be appear brighter in the images. So here are the interactions of ultrasound with matter. So reflection, refraction, absorption and scattering are the basic interactions of ultrasound with the matter. So here you can see the image, how the transducer will be placed and what are all the reactions can be happened within the tissue surface. So first of all, reflection. Reflection is the one when we are placing the ultrasound probe on the tissue, the amount of signals which are getting back to provide the image are known as reflection. Reflection is the interaction where the images will be produced. So reflection depends on the acoustic impedance and angle of incidence. Acoustic impedance, it is a product of the density and the velocity density of the tissue and velocity of the speed of the ultrasound beam. And the angle of incidence, the angle we make over the skin surface. So higher the angle of incidence, the lesser will be the amount of reflection. So if the amount of reflection is less, image won't be proper, like we won't get the proper image. And the refraction change in the direction of from one medium to the other medium is known as refraction. So this kind, when the ultrasound is placed from one medium to another medium, when the sound travels from one medium to other medium, it will change in direction. The ultrasound pulses will change in direction, which may cause distortion or loss of resolution. So distortion will show the, it can cause a artifact, like it will show one image as twice or two in one, or a loss of resolution will be there. They'll show blurred images. So this kind of artifacts will be coming with the refraction. And absorption. Absorption is a main form of attenuation where the energy is getting, ultrasound energy is getting absorbed into the tissues. It doesn't consider any image formation, but it will create the thermal energy in the tissues. Apart from the thermal energy, it doesn't consider any image formation, absorption. And scattering, when the reflecting surface is irregular, like if the surface of the skin or surface of the tissue is not smooth based on the ultrasound beam projection, then this scattering will happen. So, and diffraction. Diffraction is a uniform spreading of ultrasound beam as it propagates from one source. So it is another type of scattering where the smaller
Ma'am. Hello. Hello, ma'am. Your voice is not
Ma'am,
clear.
Monica ma'am.
hello. Yes.
Ma'am, now only the audio will come, ma'am. Please. Yeah, please.
All has being muted. I'm muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please proceed, ma'am.
Yeah. So when the change of medium happens, then this refraction will happen. And the diffraction is a type of scattering, but it will scatter in a uniform way, not like uh, say there are two types of scattering here. One is scattering, general scattering, and the other one is diffraction. This is the dispersion of the uniform dispersion of the ultrasound beam. Then next comes ultrasound instrumentation. We'll discuss this is a block diagram of the ultrasound where today's ultrasounds are more sophisticated, which is a medical device which is essential for diagnosis, and it is faster real-time imaging for any abdominal scans and all. Will prefer this emergency ultrasounds. For few particular pathologists will prefer ultrasound, and it often supports like a number of different transducers, operating modes, and image display devices were developed in the design development. So there are here you can see the block diagram. It starts with the transducer and ends with the image display on monitor or either storage in hard copy and digital storage. So in between there are beam forming which will steer the beam, and receiver and amplifier and memory scan converter and pulse transmitter These are the inbuilt parts of ultrasound machine inside, which will have the image contribution, which all together will take part in the image formation. So this is the transducer construction. The transducer, it is a device where it can, I already mentioned, the transducer has a crystal which convert the one form of energy to another. That is electrical signals into ultrasound beam, ultrasound signals, and the vice versa. Someone is started to share the content.
Yes, Kishore? Sir Kishore, please stop, share the content.
पबजी चला भाई पबजी
So, transducer, it consists of piezoelectric crystal and electrode, backing block, acoustic window, plastic housing, coaxial cable, in which we'll learn in detail. So, piezoelectric
Ma'am,
crystals are available.
ma'am, sorry for the interrupt.
Yes, yes.
PPT was not visible, ma'am. Please once again share it.
Okay. So piezoelectric crystals are available in two forms, natural forms and artificial forms. You can make it man-made or it is available natural as well. So natural available piezoelectric crystal is a quartz crystal. It is an example of natural one. And artificial barium titanate and lead zirconate titanate is a artificial man-made one. Nowadays we are using lead zirconate titanate, which is adapted to the our use, our diagnostic ultrasound use. So that's why we are using lead zirconate titanate piezoelectric crystal. So how can be man-made? Like what we have to do? Few certain ceramic crystals are there which can be made as piezoelectric crystal by using a piezoelectric effect. Like effect, which is first described by Pierre and Jacques Curie in 1880. So it has to be polarized. How it can be polarized? By polarizing by supplying the electric field. So after giving the electric field, the randomly aligned dipoles, like all the crystals will be innumerably made of dipoles. So these dipoles will be aligned properly when the electric field is induced. So after the saturation, after the saturation point meets, this electric field uh, makes the crystals to stay in a proper alignment, and that alignment will stay even after the electric field is removed. So, so it is made up as a piezoelectric crystal. But it will lose it will depolarize when it exceeds the temperature, exceeds the Curie temperature. So what is Curie temperature? When the crystal can lose its, where the crystal can lose its temperature, polarization is known as Curie Curie temperature. So each and every crystals has different Curie temperatures. Here we have mentioned like P34 has 328 degrees Celsius, where P35 we can have 365 degree. It can tolerate till 365 degrees Celsius. And quartz, which is a natural piezoelectric crystal, it can tolerate 573 degrees Celsius. And barium titanate can tolerate only 100 degrees Celsius. Like if they exceed these temperatures, these Curie temperatures, it will depolarize and it won't be a medical transducer anymore. So there are modes of vibration for a transducer. There are two modes of vibrations. One is radial and the other one is thickness mode. So usual medical crystals has thickness mode of vibration. We'll use only the thickness mode, and receiving amplifier will get it to tune out all the frequencies except those from the thickness mode. Like in the receiving amplifier, we'll get the signals. If it is only from the thickness mode, we'll get that, or otherwise it won't get. So resonant frequency. What is a thickness of the crystal determines its natural frequency. Like frequency, the vibration of that, how much it can be, how much frequent it can vibrate, and how depth of the signal it can provide. So it will be determined by the thickness of the crystal. So usual thickness of crystal of a medical transducer is approximate of 0.5 mm, and this crystal is designed so that its thickness is equal to the half of the wavelength of a ultrasound medical ultrasound can provide, produced by the transducer. So the thicker the piezoelectric element, the lower will be the resonant frequency. So if the resonant frequency is thin, it cannot penetrate more. So selection of proper frequency influences the image resolution, and indirectly the depth of field will also be visualized. It is thickness of the crystal is dependable for both frequency and to visualize the depth of the tissue. So transducer frequency is inversely proportional to the depth of the penetration and ultrasound signal into the body, and it is directly proportional to the image resolution. So increased frequency gives the better image resolution, but it cannot reach the deeper structures. And different ranges of frequency, like there are different ranges of frequency provided by the medical transducer. For different parts, we require different frequency range transducers. So we'll use for abdominal scans and all, we use 3 to 5 megahertz, whereas for transvaginal scans, we require 5 megahertz and higher than that. So 5 to 10 megahertz we need for superficial parts, and 10 to 30 megahertz for skin, ophthalmology, and skin. So while obtaining images with the adjustable frequency transducer, so it is important to start the lowest frequency, because with the lowest frequency we can reach the deeper structures. So we are not supposed to miss the deeper structures. So we should make sure, if it is in case of adjustable frequency transducer, we should start with the lowest, then gradually increase the frequency while imaging. So electrodes. So when you see the crystal is placed in between the electrodes, which is a thin conducting the electrodes, front and back. So the surface of the crystal are plated with gold or silver electrodes, and these the crystal is grounded electrode. It is also grounded in order to avoid the electrical shock. So the live electrode, it appears it is placed against a thick backing block. Live electrode will be placed towards the backing block, whereas the ground electrode face towards the patient with a watertight electrical insulator in order to avoid the electrical shock. So backing block. So backing block is a where the transmitted echoes will not be escaped. Like it would it absorbs the sound waves which transmitted back to the transducer. When the echo pulses doesn't reach the tissue, and if it is reversing back to the backing block, it will absorb all the sound. And so if it is backing block is cracked or something, this sound waves will cause in image artifacts. It will revert back to the tissue, again back to the crystal. So it doesn't cause proper image. So this backing block is required to absorb the sound waves which are not transmitted into the which will transmit back to the transducer. And it is composed of tungsten and rubber powder in a epoxy resin. So the next comes acoustic window, the matching layer. It otherwise known as quarter wave matching or matching layer. So the thickness of the matching layer must be equal to the 1/4 of the. Hello, am I audible?
Ma'am, it's audible, ma'am. Please continue, ma'am.
Her presentation is changing, ma'am.
No, ma'am, it's correct.
No, I'm changing the slides, but it is not changing, I guess. One second.
Simply change slide.
I did change the slide. One second. So is it changing, ma'am, now?
No, ma'am.
Not yet, ma'am. Not yet. Okay, ma'am, change it.
Yeah. So this thickness of the matching layer, it must be equal to 1/4 of the wavelength of the sound in the matching layer, which is known as quarter wave matching. This matching layer placed before the front of the transducer, face of the transducer, and it should be equal to the 1/4 of the wavelength which is produced by the transducer. And along this, we should use a coupling agent to avoid air pockets and patient's body in order to reduce the scattering on the skin surface. We should use coupling agent or gel. So acoustic insulator of rubber or cork prevents sound from passing into the housing. So next comes the coaxial cable, where we'll hold the transducer with a cable. It is designed with multi-core and micro-coaxial cables, which are bonded together. So in the center, you can see the conductor where the signals will be conducted, and the outer one is the jacket where it is properly cabling is properly done, and it should be soft and flexible to for ultrasound cable assemblies to transmit image and to drag it while operating. It should be soft and flexible for an easy operation. So these are the most of the transducer types. There are so many types based on the shape and the thickness of the crystal. So this transducers are of varied range of types. And based on the use, like for endocavity, there are endocavity probes and all. Based on the tissue we are using, and the beamformer, which is used to like beamform. Why we are using beamformer? To get to steer the beam, to properly align the beam, which we are getting in different range of pulses. Like these echo signals will be provided in different ranges, but this beam steering will make them in a proper specified range of pulses. So this beamformer provides a pulse delay sequences applied to the individual elements to achieve transmit focusing, like to focus the beam on it will get a proper range of signals will be transmitted. So it also controls dynamic focusing of the received echoes and controls the beam direction for electronically scanned array transducers. So there are actually two types of beamformers: analog beamformer and digital beamformer. So in the transmit beamforming, what is happening here? So there
Ma'am,
are
voice is very
delays.
low.
What? Transmit before the transmitter, and then this will transmit at different times, because for deeper tissues it will send first, then it will send to the superficial tissues to get the proper image, to provide the proper echoes. So in the receive beamforming also it is vice versa happens. Like from the scattering medium, it will receive the signals from different tissues, from the superficial to deep tissues in different time intervals. Then this it will be given to the time delay. It will, in the time delays, system time delays, it will collect all the signals at once and then it will give to the transducer back. So this is how it will be done. Steering of the beam. So analog beamformer, this is the same, but it will pre-amplify the signal and it will give to the delay controls. Then it will give to the analog delay circuit, where the image processing will be done in an analog format and give to the digitizer to process the signal. And in the digital beam format, what will happen? Like we are using, instead of the analog digitizers, we are using these digitizers which will convert the signals into binary format, and they'll code that and then they'll give to the digital delay timers, and then digital processing will happen. So the pulse transmitter. The function of the pulsar is to provide electrical signals for exciting piezoelectric crystals in the transducer. So the pulse signals will provide the higher amplitude electrical signals and higher intensity sound waves, higher amplitude echo signals, which will eventually gives a better image resolution. So the pulse signals which are provided at rate is known as pulse repetition frequency. At what rate we are repeating the pulse signals are known as pulse repetition frequency. So see the pulsar here, like there are higher, low power and high power. So when the echo signal is given, the pulse power increases the amplitude of the transmitted pulse, and which eventually gives the brighter images. So even the weaker echoes will pick up and then it will provide proper images. So then the receiver, echo signals detected by the transducer are applied to the receiver, where they are processed for display. And the first part of this processing involves echo signal amplification and compensation for attenuation losses. So signal amplification and compensation will happen to this receiver, and the degree of amplification is known as the gain of the receiver. Amplifier, this will amplify the signal to provide a proper echoes. And besides the amplifying, this amplifier will provide low level spurious electrical signals, which will eventually cause the noise in the image formation. So the pre-amplifier. So each transducer element provides a small voltage which is proportional to the pressure amplitude of the returning echo. So these echoes are amplified by a pre-amplifier before it goes to the receiver. So after amplification, the echo passes through analog to digital converters. So this will boost the echo signals. And then the summing, after the digitization, the echo voltage pass through digital delay lines to accomplish. So this will receive the returning echoes at proper time and then add it together in the summer to produce the resulting scan lines that it can display along with the others. Like even the first reached beam will also be stored there. It will kept there, and then the last reach until the last beam reaches to the transducer, and it will display in it will process the signal and display together. So then comes the scan conversion. Why scan conversion is used is to write the image data to a memory. Like we can convert this scan to a memory and keep it stored in the form of viewing or recording. It performs the scan conversion data to be viewed or on the video monitor, or it can be stored in a hard disk or thermal paper. Like we can take it as a printout. So this is how the scan line, even the sector, like it will provide in a parallel, but according to the image, it will interpolate into sectional view for our convenience. So there are two types of scan converters, analog and digital. So analog scan converter, which is developed in 1972, it is no more, like it is replaced by the digital scan converter. So the analog scan converter presents some difficulty in clinical use because the grayscale level assigned to the echo amplitude, it tends to drift, causing the deterioration of the image quality. So that's why we are not using analog scan converter, and it has the image flickering. Like from one image to when we are sweeping the transducer, the image flickering is more in the by the analog scan converter. It won't be so fast to switch the rate of analog scans. So digital scan converter, it converts a variation in amplitude of the echo signal received by the transducer into binary numbers, and it will happen so fast. So digital converter tubes are free of grayscale drift, and it has much faster writing speed. So there will not be any flickering in the monitor. There will be no gaps in between the display. So this is how digital scan converter will happen. And pre-processing, there are special processing modules added to the image acquisition system to suppress the noise and also to enhance the magnification. Echo signal edge enhancement, which produces sharper signal on a B mode display. This is the pre-processing modules. Few special processing modules are there. So echo signal edge enhancement will be helpful in producing sharper signal on a B mode display. And persistence, it is a module where the data are written to the scan converter. Signals for each pixel location can be combined with previous signals and form the same location. Like we can start from the same location. It will store the previous location and starts from there, so that there will be a continuity in the image viewing. So digital image processing in ultrasound images, it could like ultrasound images can contain more noise at all the stages of image acquisition. So that could be due to loss of proper contact or air gap in between the transducer and the body. So if there is no contact imaging, there will be a loss of signals from the transducer. So it will obviously deteriorate the image quality, and the noise can be introduced during the beam forming process and also during the signal processing stages. Even during the scan conversion, there could be a loss of information due to the interpolation, like when it is converting the scan lines parallel to the sector imaging, when it is changing, there will be a loss of, there can be a loss of image. So techniques for ultrasound image filtering and analysis focus on noise called speckles. This speckle noise degrades the fine details and edge definition and limits the contrast resolution. So different axial and lateral filters are applied on the signals at different stages to improve the image quality. This processed signal will then give to the scan conversion mode, which will actually generate the image after the post-processing. So the speckle noise can be reduced by wavelet transformation, multi-look processing, spatial filtering, or homomorphic filtering. So the multi-look processing is usually done during the image acquisition, and the speckle reduction by spatial and homomorphic filtering is performed after the image acquisition. Then the image data retrieved from memory. Like after retrieving from the memory, we'll do this post-processing techniques. We'll use this post-processing to view the image on the display. So these are the display devices. CRT tubes and TV monitors will be used. And for the image recording, we can use photographic films, DVDs, video thermal printers, video tape recordings, color thermal printers, and multi-image cameras, fiber optic recorders, and formatter cassettes. So now comes USG controls. Like this is a control panel which we can see on the which we can manipulate the controls to get a better image quality. There are number of intensities, number of echoes and intensities. So multiple controls are built into ultrasonic units, which regulates the echoes from various depths. So that's why we are using gain controls. Structures like echoes from deeper structures will be weaker and it will get attenuated then and there. It doesn't reach till transducer. So we have to boost them. So by using these controls, we can boost them and adjust these weaker signals in order to provide proper image. So the number and intensity of echoes from any particular area are extremely available. So ultrasound controls are designed to regulate these intensity of echoes from various depths. There are types of gain controls. Time gain compensator is a major basic one, which is very important. And delay control, intensity control, coarse gain control, reject control, near gain, far gain, and enhancement controls. So in these intensity control, coarse gain control, and reject control, together known as amplitude regulators. This will regulate the amplitude of the echoes. So time gain compensator, echoes from the deeper structures will be very small and they'll get attenuated there. So this time gain compensator, what will it do? It will amplify the weaker signals and the echoes from the different tissue interfaces. It will make it similar amplitude, like it will make all the echoes with similar amplitude. TGC is otherwise known as swept gain and is a receiver function used to equalize differences in the echo amplitudes. So when you see here in the first image, there are, when it reaches to the deeper structures, there is a gradual signal loss in the B. So by using the time gain compensator, which is a slope, it will just raise the signal. So by using this TGC, all the video signals, like all the signals from the varied tissues has become almost similar. So to achieve this, we are using TGC control. TGC provides gradual increase amplification with the depth. And types of TGC has slider bar TGC and 3-knob TGC. You must have observed in the control panel. So by adjusting the slide, TGC specific depth range by adjusting this control, sliding this. So what will this 3-knob TGC control has? It has limited number of gain controls. Initial gain, slope gain, and far gain is there. So it regulates the like initial gain will regulate receiver gain at the time of transmitting pulse from the transducer, and slope will adjust the rate of compensation with the depth, and far gain controls adjust with the maximum receiver gain from the transmit pulse. So then the delay control. Delay control regulates the depth at which TGC begins to augment the weaker signals, like where the signal weakening happens. From there, this delay control will start. So intensity control, it determines the potential difference across the transducer, and increasing intensity produces more energetic ultrasound beam and thus stronger echo signals. So this intensity control will increase the intensity, which can produce more energetic ultrasound beam. Coarse gain, what it will do is it will amplify all the signals, whatever you get in the initial, it will amplify everything twice or thrice, and it will give the signal. It will amplify each and every signal. And the reject signal. This reject signal will control which to eliminate. Like if the curve of the signals are varying too much, it will take the similar height of amplitudes and then reduce the shorter ones, which causes image noise. So this reject control will do that. And the near gain, it is manually operated amplitude control, where it is used to regulate the superficial echoes and is used to diminish the echoes, not to enhance near echoes. Like if the near echoes are enhancing, the far echoes will not be enhanced properly, and it is not visible. So this near gain control will diminish the enhancement of the near echoes. And the far gain, like far gain is the one, it is opposite to the near gain control. It will enhance the distant echoes. And the enhancement control echoes within the gate at any desired level. Internal time varied control, in addition to this, other than the gain controls, this internal time varied control, it will give the average swept gain compensation rate based on the sensitivity versus depth. It will align, and then it will give average swept gain compensation. And lateral gain is used to vary the amount of amplification from one side of the image, like any lateral side, like not on the center. It doesn't concentrate on the center of the image. It will concentrate on the lateral sides. So it is mostly used in the echocardiography. So to compensate from one side to side non-uniformities and all, image brightness caused by like to increase the image brightness on the sides, this lateral gain will be useful. With this, modern ultrasound devices, which are equipped with number of adjustable controls, in order to overcome any, we will be ordered, will be able to overcome any kind of artifacts or pitfalls in the image, and to allow the user to optimize the image quality as well. And using these controls, we can adjust so many ultrasound image according to the region of interest related to pathologies, and eventually help us to provide, these controls will help us to provide better patient care and image quality. So as a medical sonographer or radiographer, what is our job is to maintain the unit and room properly. What is a ultrasound room maintenance requires is Like anyhow, there is no radiation protection is required, but we have to keep the room dry and free from dust, and adequate lighting should be there, and proper electrical connections and grounding we should keep on follow up we have to make because of this electrical connections. So grounding is proper or not, any wire damages are there, transducer damages are there. So these things we should note regularly. And the gel should be stored well, and transducer should be cleaned with cotton. We are not supposed to use any solutions on the transducer for cleaning. We should use just dry cotton to clean. And we should care for the probe. And whenever the machine is not used, we can keep it in a freeze mode or switch off. And mention do not autoclave the transducer. So this safety other than this safety considerations are time average intensity while scanning, it should not exceed more than 100 megawatt per square centimeter, and total sound intensity should not be more than 50 joules. So care and maintenance of a transducer. So maintenance of transducer is must, and you should be well aware of it so that no mishandling will happen. So ultrasound transducer should not be heated with sterilization technique. So heat sterilization technique we are not supposed to use the use for transducers, and depolarization occurs if it is heated above the Curie temperature. So if a transducer is dropped, so we have to check whether the interior of the probe may be damaged. So we have to check and keep regularly. So if any crack happens, no, it will lead to the electrical shocks for the patient. So twisting and bending during handling may cause cable damage, which leads to loss of sensitivity of the pulses. So the transducers must be cleaned immediately after use, and it should be covered whenever the endocavity studies are happening. It should be like ultrasound van should be covered with condom and lubricating gel, or with the latex-free NeoGuard endocavity probe covers, which will specifically come for to cover the endocavity probes. So these should be used and should be discarded immediately after the use. What are the advantages and the disadvantages of ultrasound? So there is a good soft tissue contrast as a best advantage. It is of low cost and it doesn't have any kind of non radiation, and it is a real time imaging, and it is good for guiding biopsies and all. It is a real time guidance for biopsies. And as in case of other hand, it has disadvantages. It is operator dependent. If we are not operating properly, the image won't be proper. So it is perfectly based operator dependent. And limiting reproducibility, we cannot take images very less images can be taken, and obese people will have the artifacts and all, so it will be difficult to scan in the obese people, and bowel gas may obscure the tumors behind the gas filled bowels and all. So in case of this, as it has less penetrability in gaseous medium, it is a one kind of disadvantage. Thank you. So if any questions are there, you're welcome.
Ma'am, question please.
Please increase the sound. Increase the sound.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Kalaivani ma'am.
Ma'am, one question please, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Relationship between wavelength and wave velocity is. Then, ma'am, अल्ट्रासाउंड ट्रांसड्यूसर जो होते हैं वो मैम बोल रहा है कि When frequency increase wavelength, how is it possible, ma'am, if they have direct relation? Ma'am,
Your
are you
query, you
listening?
can post it in the group so that I can check.
And we cannot post in the group. It shows that the participant has been disabled from the meeting.
Oh, your voice is breaking in between, so I couldn't hear your questions clearly.
Yes, Mr. We are not able to hear what you asked actually.
Frequency.
Monica, ma'am?
Yes,
Ma'am, can you able to see the question in chat box?
Chat box, 1 second.
Shall I ask, ma'am?
Yeah, you can ask, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. The first one, ma'am, explain piezoelectric effect.
Explain piezoelectric effect.
Yes, ma'am.
Piezoelectric effect is a making of polarizing a crystal is known as piezoelectric effect.
Yes, the next second one, ma'am. Why gold or silver plate used in piezoelectric crystals?
As an electrode. So why we are using, because it is not a good transmitter of electricity and it doesn't provide much shock. These elements are bad conductors for electricity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
The next one, ma'am.
Yes.
Select color Doppler. If we have selector blue for veins, even then we get red color too. What is the possible for this reason?
Because vessels are everywhere, so overlapping of this will happen.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one. Which phenomenon is responsible for ultrasound protection, piezoelectric effect, or reverse piezoelectric effect?
Actually, without the generation of pulse, we cannot get the echoes. So obviously both are important. Is there any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question.
Yes. Ask.
Can I ask?
Yeah, you can.
Ma'am, a 12 megahertz sorry, a 12 megahertz transducer is a very good resolution, but they cannot penetrate very deep. Why?
Yeah. Because thicker this thickness matters, right?
Yes, thickness matter.
Yeah. Thinner the crystal, deeper the tissues it will penetrate, and thicker the crystal, it cannot be able to penetrate through the deeper structures. So 12 megahertz is allowed frequency. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That's all, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the session.
Hello.
Hello.
Huh, ma'am. One small again question. Hello.
Hello, who asked that question?
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Anyone can able to hear me? This is Rajita.
Monica ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am.
Yes ma'am. Yeah, thank you ma'am. Thank you for the session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Participants will go for the next session. I invite and request Mrs. Jayalakshmi, Assistant Professor, External Faculty of Viaya Educational Academy, to deliver the session on Cyclotron.
Can I share my content?
Jayalakshmi ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Can I share my content?
Yes ma'am, you can share.
A very good afternoon to respected dignitaries, faculty, and my dear students. First of all, I would like to render my appreciation to the
Sound is
organization. Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
It's
Double wise, ma'am. Double wise.
Participant, please mute yourself.
Can I proceed, ma'am?
Yes ma'am, you can proceed now ma'am.
First of all, I thank the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to give my lectures on an interesting topic, cyclotron, and one of my research work. And a vote of appreciation for conducting such a beautiful program during this pandemic. So, in nuclear medicine, to start with basic for the many of the fresher students are here, in nuclear medicine, radioactive isotope are being injected into the patient, and then we obtain the differential emission image. So this is the basic. Then how are these radioactive isotopes being produced? One is through the nuclear reactor, and the other method is through the device cyclotron. So all the radioactive isotope which are being produced by the cyclotron are used in positron emission tomographic imaging. So let's see the hooks and corners of cyclotron, what it has and how does it work. Cyclotron is a compact electromagnetic device which accelerates the positive ions to extremely high velocities. Cyclotrons produce radionuclei by bombarding the stable nuclei with high energy charged particles. It was invented by E.O. Lawrence in the year 1929. He founded the principle behind its working, and the first cyclotron was made operational at the year 1931 by E.O. Lawrence together with M.S. Livingston. What is the principle behind the working of the cyclotron is magnetic Lorentz force. So when you see a charged particle moving from a normal to a magnetic field, when they are moving in a linear fashion, that is, when they are moving in a straight path, they experience a magnetic Lorentz force when they move towards the magnetic field. So as soon as they experience this Lorentz force, they change their linear path into a circular path, at which the particles are now moving in a orbital fashion. So this Lorentz force is given by Q times of E to the added with Q times of the product of V and B. So force due to the electric field is given by Q times of E, and force due to the magnetic field is given by Q times to the product of V and B. So what is Q here? It is the electric charge of the particle, and E is the electrical field, B is the magnetic field, and V being the velocity. As the charged particles move in a circular direction, their centripetal force is always equal to the centrifugal force. So coming to the construction of the cyclotron, it has the following components, and we will be seeing each of them in briefly. So magnet system, ion source system, the Ds, radio frequency system, extraction system, and then you have the vacuum system, finally the target assembly. The magnetic system. So as you see in the schematic representation, the blue one is said to be as the electromagnets. There are two electromagnets in the cyclotron construction, each paired with a magnetic yoke. The gray bars are said to be as the magnetic yoke, which bears the magnet. In between the two electromagnets, you have the two Ds, which I will be discussing in the following slides. So these magnets produce a magnetic field, and they are responsible for the orbital motion of the charged ions because of the Lorentz force, as I said before. And this provides a centripetal force, and this magnetic field and the magnets keep the beam, the ion beam, which is being produced from the ion source, in a compact and focused manner. The field strength will usually vary from 1.5 to 2 Tesla. If you see here, inside the construction of the magnet, you have something called as hill and valley. If you see this picture here, you can see the elevated region to be as the hill and the depressed region as the valley. So this hill and valley design can be in azimuthally varying field. I mean the magnetic field. Deeper the valley is, more will be the transmission and lower activation of internal structures. This sentence may be new at the beginning now, but at the end of the session, you will understand what this means actually. Next one is the ion system. As I said, this is the source of the ion. I said the cyclotron will accelerate the charged particles. So it can either be positive or negative. Positive may be like protons and neutrons and alpha particles, and negative may be like hydrogen particles. Here you can see this is the ion source gauge. It is also called as Penning ion gauge. It is filled with hydrogen gas, and it is at its negative potential. Through here, the ions are being born. They are newly born and they are accelerated throughout the entire cyclotron. So this generates ion as source, and they accelerate in the cyclotron. This Penning ion gauge consists of two tantalum cathodes, as you see here in the picture. Now, coming to Ds. Why these are called as Ds? In olden day cyclotron, you have two Ds. It is called as Ds because it is in the shape of the alphabet D. These are the highly metallic conductors. They are in the half semicircle region. In modern cyclotron, even 4 Ds can also be present, so that the isotope production is more faster as they accelerate. So the ions which are being born, which are being produced from the ion source, they revolve inside the Ds, and they are accelerated at each crossing gap. There is a gap in between the Ds here. These Ds are connected by the alternating currents, which I will be explaining clearly in a following video. And it is at its potential around 30 to 100 kilovolt. The energy of the ions here depends on the number of turns it takes over the acceleration and the voltage difference between the two Ds. It actually pushes and pulls the ion. It pushes and pulls the ion in a circular fashion with fluctuating charges. Next comes the radio frequency system. It actually supplies the alternating voltage to the Ds. And the frequency of the radio frequency should always be same with the ion frequency, which is being produced at the ion gauge. It is mainly responsible for ion acceleration prior to the bombardment of the target, Here, if you see in this picture, this is a cross-sectional image. These are the stem of supplying RF power to the Ds, and these are the flaps, the white one here. These are, they will tune the radio frequency according to the ion frequency. Next is the extraction system. This is quite an interesting one. Once the acceleration is done throughout the entire Ds, finally the ion has to come out to hit the target to produce the radioactive isotope. So how it is pulled out through the window is through this extraction system. So the entire beam is extracted here through a carbon foil with no beam loss. So I'll explain this. Look at this picture. At the ion source, as I showed in the penning ion gauge, you have a positron with 2 electrons. Okay. So when this is created, it accelerates because of the alternating current produced by the RF system. And then at the extraction system, you have a thin carbon foil here. So when the positron with the 2 electrons are accelerated with 16.5 mega electron volt, the 2 electrons are stripped off here in the carbon foil. They get attached, leaving only the positron emission. So like this way, the extraction system works. Next comes the vacuum system. The magnet, the Ds, together they are sealed in a vacuum cylinder. So this vacuum cylinder is maintained by the mechanical and the diffusion pumps at the order of 10 to the power of 6, or it can be even 10 to the power of -8. Higher the vacuum, more advantage it is, as it reduces the interaction of the accelerated particles with air molecules. Why they should reduce this interaction with accelerated particles is we need only the required radioactive isotope being produced with the bombardment. We don't want unwanted interaction happening in between them, giving us a false radioactive isotope. So it prevents the creation of other unwanted radionuclides. It mainly provides perfect electrical insulation for the Ds. Next is the target assembly. It is always located outside the cyclotron. Okay, so here what happens, the target can be either liquid, gas, or even solid. So mostly it is made up of a foil. It is like a foil, like you can say like aluminum foil. I didn't mean that the target is made up of aluminum. It's like a aluminum foil. I haven't got any literature or a reference stating the target material, so I just leave it as an example. This is a cross-sectional view. Here you can see there are 4 Ds here. This is a modern cyclotron with ion source, and these are the extraction foil, this being the magnet. This is again the cross-sectional view from the top. This is the hill and this is the valley. Let me tell you how the cyclotron works. Look carefully into this video. There are 2 Ds which are highly metallic, placed in such a way that the edges are facing each other with a gap in between them. These Ds acts as the main source for the ion to accelerate. These 2 Ds are connected to the terminals with alternating voltage to an oscillator. So what happens is when this oscillator produces the alternating current, making the Ds to be polarized, one in the positive way and one in the negative, say D1 and D2. So when D1 is positive, there is an electrical field produced between the 2 Ds. Again, the polarity changes because of the oscillator. Likewise, if the polarity changes from D2, then the electric field is in this direction. There is an electromagnet down and top in between the Ds, as I said before. The down electromagnet will have its north pole above, and the electromagnet which is at top will have its south pole below. So this entire setup will produce an electrical field and magnetic field. The electrical field, the red one is electrical field, and the white lines are said to be as magnetic field. They are perpendicular to each other, and this entire setup is filled with a vacuum system, as I discussed in the construction, each and everything briefly. So when D2 is positive, what happens? The electrical field runs in from positive to negative direction, and the magnetic field is in perpendicular direction. From the penning ion gauge, a new charged particle, say proton or a deuteron, proton and neutron gives deuteron. It is being born. When the D1 is positive, it experiences an electrical force in between the two Ds. The force which the ion is experiencing is given by Q times of E, that is the charge of the particle with the electrical field in the direction of the electrical field. It again experiences the acceleration, which is given by Q times of E by M, where M is the mass. Because of this electrical field, the ion gains some energy to enter into the D. So at the D, what happens? There will be no electrical field, only magnetic field. Let me make clear. There is only electrical field in between the Ds. There are no electrical field inside the D, only magnetic field is there inside the D. So because of the magnetic field and because of the Lorentz force, which I said before, it makes a path from linear to circular path. So it is able to move in such direction. Excuse me. So likewise, this ion will move in a circular fashion throughout the entire Ds. So initially, the time taken for the ion to move the half the D is given by T by 2, because the time taken for the ion to move the complete circle is T. So half the circle will be T by 2. So when this moves, the circular path is always perpendicular to the magnetic field. So again, there is no electrical field. So once it comes out of the D, it again experiences the electrical field here. So it enters from one D to other D because of the electrical field. It again experiences only the magnetic field, so that it makes a circular path. Again, it experiences the electrical field, so that it is accelerated again and moves into the D2, which is negatively polarized. So again here, initially it moved with velocity v, but now it's v1. So again, it comes in the force of, it comes in the field of electrical field, and again it moves in the velocity of v3. Likewise, sorry for the delay. So likewise, the acceleration will be there with increasing velocity. As the velocity increases, the radius also will increase for the cyclotron. And finally, what happens when when the particle has no space to grow up in radius, it is finally let out through the window to hit in the target for its nuclear reaction to be produced, which gives us the radioactive isotope. A small calculation, not much into deep. Here, the magnetic field causes the ion to bend its path into a semicircle of radius r. So the charge is given by mv square by r, where m is the mass and v is the velocity and r is the radius. The cyclotron at the frequency, that is at which frequency it is revolving, the ions are revolving, is given by q times b by 2 pi by m. So we know that V is Q, V, R, and M, whereas the kinetic energy of the particle is half mv square. So it is squared by the charge, the magnetic field, the radius with the mass. So this is the horizontally mounted cyclotron, and this is the vertically mounted cyclotron. For PET studying, as I said, carbon 11 is produced in such a way, nitrogen 13, oxygen 15, fluorine 18 with its relevant half-life. These are some of the radioactive isotopes being produced from cyclotron. So the other radionuclides may be, I can say some of them, maybe gallium-67 for tumor imaging and localizing the infection, iron-123 with half-life of 13 hours, which is used for in the diagnosis of thyroid function, and strontium-92 with half-life of 25 days, which is the parent of rubidium-82 in generator. What are the uses of cyclotron then? It is act as the best source of high energy beams of nuclear physics experiments. It produces the radioactive isotopes that can be used to treat carcinomas. The ion beams from cyclotrons are used in proton therapy mainly. Several cyclotrons are still in use for research. But it also has some limitations too. The ion cannot move with a speed beyond a certain limit. It is only suitable only for accelerating the heavy particles. Uncharged particles like neutrons cannot be accelerated. That is, I said protons and neutrons together gives deuteron, so that it can be accelerated. Neutron alone cannot be accelerated because it has no charge. So it is only able to accelerate only the charged particles, either positive or negative. So this is how the cyclotron setup will be. And this is its envelope. So in India, in Mumbai, you have 2 cyclotrons, in Delhi 4, Hyderabad 2, Bangalore 1, Ahmedabad 2, Kolkata 1, Chandigarh 1, Chennai 1, and totally there are 14 cyclotrons as of now in India. So as I said, cyclotrons, isotopes being produced by cyclotrons and nuclear reactors. I can highlight just a few points between them. In cyclotron, they are made to produce the radioactive isotopes which are very cheap, whereas in nuclear reactive it is expensive. In cyclotron it can produce negligible amount of waste, but here it is produced the radioactive waste are much more higher in nuclear reactor. No transport risks are here. We have many transport problems with the radioactive isotope being produced by the nuclear reactor. The sizes of cyclotron, that is the sizes of the discs they mean here, it can be ranging from 4" to 95 inches. To conclude this first topic alone, I would say that this is an interesting invention, cyclotron, which proves to be an unwanted treasure in the era of therapeutic radiology in the successful diagnosis of various and therapeutic conditions. A quick and short review of the cyclotron is with that it is over. Shifting to my research work, which I have done in my post-graduation, I would like to share my research work on this moment. So I'll just finish it up quickly. I don't take much time in this. Mainly I have done this work in my post-graduation at Sri Ramchandra Medical University. I did it signifying MRT2 relaxometry. So I'm going to emphasize here only MRT2 relaxometry. So my title will be how I use this T2 relaxometry in picking up the early degeneration in the intervertebral disc prior to any changes in the structure of the spine. So I have concentrated only lumbar spine. So what is degeneration actually? Degeneration of the intervertebral discs are due to the dehydration or desiccation changes in the disc material, which reduces the flexibility and sometimes even the height of the disc, which leads to spinal instability. So what is this T2 relaxometry? This T2 relaxometry is a potential tool which detects early the disc degeneration in the intervertebral discs of lumbar spine, not only lumbar spine, but I have concentrated in lumbar spine without any morphological changes. As we all know, this is the basic anatomy of lumbar spine. Starting from L1 to L5, each vertebra separated by the intervertebral discs. So our target will be this intervertebral disc. For clear understanding, you can always compare this intervertebral disc to the ice apple what we eat. More dry it is, more hard it is, more prone to break. More water content it has, more flexible it is. So this is a typical anatomy. This is MR anatomy, and this is a schematic representation of the vertebral body anatomy. This is the vertebral body, transverse process, lamina, spinous process. So I said we are going to concentrate on intervertebral disc. This intervertebral disc has 2 regions mainly. The nucleus pulposus, which is at the center. The center one is the nucleus pulposus. It has higher water content in a normal intervertebral disc. So it contains collagen fibers and elastin fibers. And you have annulus fibrosis. This is the anterior annulus fibrosis, and this is the posterior annulus fibrosis. So how is this degeneration takes place? This degeneration takes place with the chondrocytes which are more into repair. Then inflammation may or may not take place. This fibrocartilage replaces the gelatinous mucoid material of the nucleus. Then annulus fibrosis gets splitted, which leads to herniation of nucleus pulposus. Finally, the nucleus pulposus will shrink, leading to prolapse of annulus fibrosis with secondary osteophytes forming at the margins. The major mechanism of this degeneration is mainly owned by Propionibacterium bacterium. You have grades of performing here. Firman's grades may be from grade 1 to grade 5 here. It can be homogeneous in grade 1, inhomogeneous in grade 2, and inhomogeneous again grade 2. So in each grade, you can just differentiate how the nucleus pulposus and the annulus fibrosis is being differentiated or not. So in grade 1, you can differentiate well, whereas in grade 5, you cannot at all differentiate between the nucleus pulposus and the annulus fibrosis. See, in grade 4 and 5, when compared to grade 5 and grade 1 here, there is some clear differentiation and the disc height is also normal. If you see in grade 5, there is no differentiation at all and the disc height is completely collapsed. So T2 relaxometry, basically this is a T2 relaxometry curve with y-axis showing the signal intensity and x-axis with the echo. This actually measures the differential T2 values, that is the differential relaxation rates happening in the specific region. In our content, it is the nucleus pulposus. In the regions of nucleus pulposus, how the T2 relaxation rates differs, that is measured with T2 relaxometry. So I make use of this sequence particularly for this research purpose. My aim of the study was to evaluate the significance of MR relaxometry in the assessment of intervertebral disc degeneration. The main objective of my study was to perform T2 relaxometry in both symptomatic and asymptomatic patients. That is, I have split my case into case group and control groups. Control groups involve healthy adult volunteers, and case group involves symptomatic patients with low backache and RTA, etc. To evaluate, the other objective was to evaluate the differential T2 values at the level of intervertebral discs of lumbar vertebrae alone. And the other one, to confirm the presence or the absence of degeneration in the intervertebral disc in both the group of patients. My methods, I did this, I collected my data in GE Sigma HDXT 1.5 Tesla MRI equipment with using the coil cervicothoracic lumbar spine coil, which is of 8 channels. It was a prospective study which was conducted in my institute, Sri Ramchandra Institute of Higher Education and Research, at the period 2017 to 2018 with 30 patients. 30 patients, each patient having 5 regions of intervertebral disc level from L1 to S1. So all the symptomatic individuals were included in this study, and patients only with metallic implants were excluded from this study. Like all the preparation, like all the study, how you prepare the patient, MR screening was done, and the patient was positioned in supine position with head first oriented, and the landmark was kept at the level of D12 vertebra. My sequence, which I used, it's T2 relaxometry. That is a sequence name. Basically, it is a fast spin echo sequence, and it is a 3D T2 weighted sagittal one. I use the standard parameters for all the cases. So TR of 1360 milliseconds, TE, I used 4 echoes here. You can also do with 8 echoes and 16 echoes in the current 3 Tesla mission also, but I stuck to 4 echoes. So say 7.9 milliseconds, 23.6 milliseconds, 39.4 milliseconds, and 55.2 milliseconds. with slice thickness 4 mm and number of excitation being 1 with field of view 24 centimeters and matrix 256 by 192. My acquisition time was not that much. It is lesser than a contrast sequence. It is 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So I planned this like routine spine planning with myelogram, with my position borg line parallel to the center of the cord, and I have checked it with the axial T2 fast spin echo sequence, and this is how I get my relaxometry image. So my procedure flow line will be: I screen the patient, both symptomatic and asymptomatic. I explain my procedure to them. I got the consent from them. I positioned them and I performed sagittal 3D T2 FSC, that is fast spin echo sequence. And finally, my result, I took it from the post processing, what I did from my relaxometry image. So how did I do is, I used advantageous workstation 4.4 with ROI, that is the pixel size being 22 in size. I placed 3 ROIs, one at the anterior annulus fibrosis, one at the nucleus pulposus, and the other at the posterior annulus fibrosis. This I did from L1 to L2 to L5 to S1. So this is how I got the relaxometry images for all the cases with 4 different echoes, as I mentioned before. So my gender distribution with my data will be, I got out of 30 cases, I got 14 females and 16 males. This I'm talking only about the case group. So these are my results. I plotted the values with the ROI of 22 pixels. The first 3 readings, this is at the level of L1 to L2, anterior annulus fibrosis, nucleus pulposus, and posterior annulus fibrosis. This entire table shows the differential T2 values of the intervertebral disc from L1 to L2 to L2 to L3 and L3 to L4. This table also shows the differential T2 values from L4 to L5 and L5 to S1. So to summarize, look at my values here. These values I got from control from the healthy adult volunteers. These values I got from the case group which I obtained. So for example, if I were to say, see the L1 and L2 values, I took mean of all the values here. So my mean for the control group at the level of L1 to L2 was 257.43. Whereas if you see in my case group L1 to L2, it is 251.702. So likewise, if you see at all the levels, my case group values are always lesser than my control group values. So this proves that my study was a successful one, which gives a result that early degeneration can be picked out from the T2 relaxometry without any structural changes in the spine. I would like to just discuss 3 cases, not as much. See, in this case, the patient had a clinical history of low backache. This is one from my collection, and it revealed he has L4 to L5 disc desiccation changes and L1 to L2 disc annular bulge. T2 relaxometry was performed and ROI was obtained. These are the exponential graphs. So it revealed that at the level of L2 to L3, the value is 185.36 and 190.27. So from the above tabulated T2 values of case 1, it was observed that T2 values of the nucleus pulposus were reduced in L2 to L3, L4 to L5, indicating early degeneration of the disc. This case has the grade 1 this case has come with low backache with grade 1 antrolisthesis over L5 to S1 here, and L2 to L3 and L2 to L3 and L3 to L4 has posterocentral disc protrusion and extrusion. T2 relaxometry was again performed in this case, and by this tabulation you can see that the T2 values of the nucleus pulposus were reduced from L4 to L5 and L5 to S1, indicating early regeneration of the discs. The last case, here you can see that the patient came again with a low back ache with L5 to S1 showing posterocentral disc protrusion and L4 to L5 seeing posterior disc bulge. Again, relaxometry was performed and the values were plotted. And it was observed that T2 values of the nucleus pulposus were reduced in L4 to L5, indicating early degeneration of the disc. So my observation was that the age group of the patients varied between 18 years and 45 years of the 30 cases what I collected, with a mean age of 26 years. Symptomatic conditions of the patients involved lower backache, slip and fall, and lower limb weakness. Out of my 30 cases and the intervertebral discs, which I had for 30 cases, overall I had 21 discs with disc bulge, and 15 with disc desiccation changes, 16 with annular disc bulge, 2 with hemangioma, 6 with posterocentral disc protrusion, 5 with posterocentral disc extrusion, and 2 with retrolisthesis, 1 antrolisthesis disc, and T-Scalz node. T2 values were always lesser in the nucleus pulposus as the water content in the nucleus pulposus is dehydrated. Because the water content is dehydrated, you will have lesser value. So higher the water is, higher the T2 values. So it is directly proportional, signifying that the discs are under degenerative changes. My arithmetic mean for the values of L1 to L2, this I have already stated before in the tabulation, so I don't want to repeat it. So finally, my result confirmed that there was significant reduction in the T2 values obtained from the case group when compared to that of the T2 values obtained from the control group. The study shows the significance of MRT to relaxometry sequence in both symptomatic and asymptomatic adult patients with respect to degenerative disc. The study suggests that early degeneration may be detected by identifying the abnormal T2 values in the otherwise normal appearing disc. The T2 values of the normal intervertebral disc of Indian population should be established in order to have a standard reference to detect degenerative disc disease earlier. So I had no reference of the standard value, so I had to perform the control group for my own reference. So my sincere thanks. This is my master chart of my study. And my sincere thanks for my faculties of my Ramchandra University, my teachers who have helped me during this research work. Mainly, I would say Ms. Sheila ma'am, Professor Paneerselvam sir, Sridhar sir, and Sudha ma'am, and Mr. Tulasi Das and Ms. Suganti, who are upcoming assistant professors in our institution, for being an effort to complete my research. And I sincerely thank Commander Daniel sir and the organizing team for giving me this opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It is a
Thank you so
excellent
much.
session. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes,
sir?
sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Hello.
yes, sir. I can
yes,
hear you,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jayalakshmi. Your lecture was very nice. It's fantastic. You gave a very good detailed study on your degeneration of spines, particularly lumbar spine, which is affecting most of the elderly nowadays. And it's a very good study. Unfortunately, I could not thank Monika because during that time my line was out due to heavy rain here. Since yesterday, nearly more than 14 hours, it is raining continuously in some parts of Kerala, unable to get the line. Anyway, thank you to Monica also. And my sincere thanks to Ms. Kalevani and the whole team who's struggling to get the lectures to be given to the students. Thanks once again. Thanks to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. It's an excellent one. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, we'll go to the question and answer session, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Dear participant, if you have any queries, please post in the chat box. Don't unmute yourself.
Hello, madam. This is Sayyed. Can I ask one question, please?
Sir, please mute yourself, sir. If you have any queries, please put it in the chat box.
But I cannot be speaking also. Hello, madam. Can I ask question here?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Yeah, my name is Sayyed. I am the radiographer. Thank you for your very excellent presentation. I have been to be a medical imaging technologist. Currently, due to this media with the WebEx or the Telegram, excellent job by the organizer. I am in the UAE, but attending class like I am in India only. Thank you for
Yes,
arranging.
sir.
And I would like to appreciate your all effort. And then yesterday presentation is also very nice by the Taslim madam or another madam regarding to the mammography. Excellent presentation, excellent review for our studies. My question to this speaker who spoke about this last topic about the our research. He
Yes.
first mentioned about to be the nuclear medicine. So
Yes.
my direct question to you that is
Yes.
it for the diagnosis or it is therapeutic for what is the main use of this Cyclotron, as you mentioned to the about the nuclear disintegration or like a nuclear medicine. So it's like a diagnosis purpose or it is like a therapeutic purpose.
It is for the therapeutic purpose.
So what the slides you was mentioned in the last for in your research part regarding the lumbar
No.
degeneration.
Sir, no, actually I have covered two topics in one session. One is from the therapeutic side and one is for the diagnosis. So my T2 relaxometry is basically deals with magnetic resonance imaging, that is under diagnostic radiology. And
Diagnostic.
and cyclotron is under therapeutic radiology.
Okay. That's why this way it make the combination. So then I may be confused that you'll be by showing this T2 relaxometry. Maybe you want to tell that there is a for therapeutic also in this.
No, sir, it's only for diagnosis. There is no therapeutic applications in T2 relaxometry. Actually, I was slotted with the cyclotron topic alone, but I made it a point to give it my research work on this session so that others can implement their use in T2 relaxometry in further applications, in further uses.
Very good. Really appreciate. And if Daniel sir is hearing to me, I would like to say thank you to you for your inaugural words. Like you.
Thank you very much. I am hearing you.
Sayyed sir, Sayyed. Yeah, you recognize me, Sayyed, from the Hyderabad, ISRT. Sir,
Thank you very much.
Sayyed.
Alan.
Thank you, sir. Shukran.
Hello, Sayyed. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much, Sayyed.
And hope, sir,
For Kadeem.
some of like this presentation from the Hyderabad also, sir, inshallah, in future.
Thanks a lot. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for organization.
We are very thankful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ma'am, shall I ask question?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes, ma'am. Which material that the Ds are made up of?
The Ds are actually, as per my reference and referring articles, they haven't mentioned any material, ma'am. I referred Sorensen book from nuclear physics and some of the journals, but they state only as highly conductive material. They haven't mentioned the material for the Ds as well as for the target so far.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one. What safety measures should be taken in the case of cyclotron?
Safety measures as such, you need to. I think it is separately out of the area where the workers or the radiation personnel will be. The person alone will just accelerate. During the acceleration, the person will not be there actually. Only for the collection of the radioactive isotope, he or she will have the radiation TLD wrist badge, lead apron, etc. to hand. There is only protection needed in handling the radioactive isotope, not for the cyclotron, because the person will not be at the site.
Radiation protection.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one. Difference between T1 and T2 and its ratio. What?
T1 and T2, you mean the relaxation rates, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I think so. T1 and T2.
T1 is always longer than T2. T2 relaxation is always faster than T1. So here in T2 relaxometry, you mainly target the T2 relaxation rates, how quick it relaxes, how quick the T2 decay is happening, and how in T1 you concentrate on the longitudinal component, how long the longitudinal component takes for its for it to regrow following the pulse given.
What is the limitation of for the cyclotron?
Limitation is that it's very expensive. I'm sorry, it's not expensive. The limitation is that in cyclotron, only the charged particles like positively charged and negatively charged can be accelerated. Not all particles can be accelerated. The source is less, but the work, it should be done with the modification of the construction. So if the particle is not at its charge, it cannot be accelerated. That is the major drawback of the cyclotron.
Thank you, ma'am.
And for a kind information, this is an additional information to all the students that they can have a visit to Kamakshi Memorial Hospital in Chennai, where we have our own cyclotron. The hospital bears its own cyclotron there. So if possible, the institutions can, after the pandemic is over, the institution can arrange a trip for the students to view there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The next one, ma'am. What is difference between SWI and diffusion weighted image?
Okay. Diffusion weighted imaging is basically a echoplanar imaging, spin echo imaging. It's a spin echo sequence. It's an echoplanar imaging and spin echo sequence. Whereas susceptible weighted imaging comes under the gradient imaging. It is a gradient echo sequence. So diffusion weighted imaging gives us the diagnostic information of the infarcts, whereas in suspected weighted imaging, it gives the microbleed information, the hemorrhage. Usually gradient sequence gives hemorrhage content or hemorrhage information, but susceptibility weighted imaging can pick up even the microbleeds, minute microbleeds.
Thank you, ma'am. The next
Yes,
one. What is the target material used in cyclotron?
Yes, ma'am. As I said before, in my reference so far, they haven't mentioned the target material and the D's material. They say it can be either solid, liquid, or gas, but mostly it is made up of foil.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The next one. In cyclotron, we use charged particle. So how do we pick the charged particle for acceleration in cyclotron?
It comes actually, as I stated in my slide, I had different sizes of cyclotron, that is different sizes of Ds, 4-inch or starting from 4-inch to 95 inches. So the charged particles which it can accelerate, it comes under its technical specifications. The manufacturer itself will give us its detail. It can accelerate such and such charged particle. So likewise, we can pick up, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The next one question, ma'am. The last one.
Yes, ma'am.
What is TE and TR?
TR is repetition time and T is the echo time. The repetition time is the time between the 90-degree RF excitation pulse to the next 90-degree RF excitation pulse. To brief, the pulse sequence basically in MRI starts with 90-degree RF excitation pulse, followed by 180-degree refacing pulse, and then you have the echo. In between the 90-degree RF excitation pulse and the 180-degree RF excitation pulse, you have the free induction decay signal, which is very weak. So again, after the echo is being collected, the cycle again repeats from 90-degree excitation pulse. So TR, that is the repetition time, is the time between the 90-degree RF excitation pulse to the next RF excitation pulse, which is in 90-degree. TE is the time of echo, that is the time between the 90-degree RF excitation pulse to the echo is being collected as TE.
So thank you, ma'am. The next one. In Kamakshi Medical College, which type of cyclotron is present, whether it is shielded, self-shielded or not?
It is self-shielded, but I haven't yet visited there, ma'am, but I got an information that they are using negative ion cyclotron.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes.
Then what is the use of alternate current in cyclotron?
Alternating current is always given to the Ds so that they can change their polarity from positive to negative. Not only alternating current, that alternating current terminal is connected to an oscillator. So that will change the polarity of the Ds from positive, negative, and then negative to positive. So with this polarity, The ion can be accelerated with greater velocities and greater radius.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one, what should be magnetic field strength in cyclotron?
1.5 Tesla to 3 Tesla.
I think it's over, ma'am. Silvakumar sir?
Hello.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. Please answer, sir. I think you are putting on answer in the chat box. Please explain it, sir. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, madam. Regarding magnetic field.
Sir, can you explain now, sir, please?
Yeah, sir. I am Bangalore Medical College student, ma'am.
Sir, Silvakumar sir?
Hello, ma'am.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, ma'am.
Sir? Silvakumar sir, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yes, madam.
Yes, sir.
Basically, I know this around 20. This is made of the 25 tons of magnetic material, but I don't know the Tesla. What the Tesla they are using in the both the process.
Yes, sir, but according to the reference book, Nuclear Medicine Physics, Essential Physics of Nuclear Medicine by Sorensen,
Yes, madam.
they say it ranges from 1.5 to 3 Tesla, sir.
Okay, okay. Because recently I didn't go through that. My memory is old one.
Yes, sir. You can have it is given in the 4th edition book, sir. It is
Okay,
not
okay.
there in 3rd edition.
Okay, okay,
You
madam.
can have a look at 4th edition.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes,
It's
sir. Thank you, sir.
really a wonderful experience. Today, the topic is going on very well. You explained very nicely each and every parts.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Happy to know the details. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Which radionuclide is widely produced by cyclotron?
Carbon 11 and oxygen 18, fluorine 18.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one, what is the procedure to use the cyclotron without cause any problem?
Sorry, ma'am, I couldn't get it.
What is the procedure to use cyclotron without cause any problem?
There is no any such problem will be caused by the cyclotron unless the device is in a good condition from the manufacturer itself. Our work is not to operate the cyclotron. Being the radiology technologist or the nuclear medicine technologist, the person should take a proper care in handling the radioactive isotope being produced. The transportation of the radioactive isotope should be in a very organized manner.
Thank you, ma'am. The last one, ma'am. Electrons cannot be used because it is small mass, so it will be thrown out when accelerated.
Ma'am, is this a question or?
I think they someone put Rahita.
Okay.
Report. Maybe how it is accelerated, I think so. Try to ask.
The major thing is depending upon the mass. As I said, cyclotron can only accelerate heavy charged particles. I didn't mention electron, ma'am. The electrons are being stripped off by the carbon foil at the time of extraction, and only the positive charged particle, the positron, is emitted, not the electron.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. I think the questions is over, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again. Participant, there is no feedback link. We'll meet you on tomorrow, the same time, 11 to 1. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.